So today we're looking at All We Know by the Chainsmokers featuring Phoebe. This lesson will be based on my acoustic instrumental of the song, which is up on my channel now, so go check that out before the lesson. And just a quick reminder that if you ever get lost or stuck throughout the lesson, expand the description box for a written explanation of each step. So let's do it. So for this track there's 7 chord shapes that we need to know, but before we start we need to put our capo on the 5th fret. And now if you don't have a capo, as some of you have said in the comments below, then you can pick one up super cheap from Amazon or eBay. The capo that I use is the G7 Performance 2, which is a slightly more expensive capo, but it's really good and I'd highly recommend it. There's a link to this one in my description box below, so go check that out. And now all the chords that I'm about to describe will be relative to the capo, so assuming that the capo is now the nut and the 6th fret is now 1st fret. So the first chord that we need to know is G major, which is 3rd fret E string, 2nd fret A string, open D string, open G string, 3rd fret B string, and 3rd fret E string. The second chord is C add 9, which is 3rd fret A string, 2nd fret D string, open G string, 3rd fret B string, and 3rd fret E string. So going from the G to the C add 9, you just drop your 2 fingers down a string. The third chord is E minor 7, which is open E string, 2nd fret A string, 2nd fret D string, open G string, 3rd fret B string, and 3rd fret E string. The fourth chord is F sharp over D, which is 2nd fret E string, open D string, 2nd fret G string, 3rd fret B string, and 3rd fret E string. The fifth chord is C major, which is 3rd fret A string, 2nd fret D string, open G string, and 1st fret B string. The 6th chord is D add 4, where we can just slide this exact same shape up 2 frets. That's D add 4, so that's 5th fret A string, 4th fret D string, open G string, and 3rd fret B string. And the 7th and final chord is E minor, which is 7th fret A string, 5th fret D string, open G string, and open B string. And they are all the chord shapes that we need to know. So for this track there's 3 sections that we need to cover. The first section will be the verse, the second section will be the pre-chorus, and the third section will be the chorus. So starting with the verse, I will just play through the whole section nice and slow. So for this we're going to be starting on the G major, and we're going to be using our thumb, our 1st, our 2nd and our 3rd finger to pluck the chords. So we're going to start by plucking the E string once with the thumb, and then we're going to use the other 3 fingers to pluck the D, G and B strings all together. And then again we're going to pluck the E string once, and then again we're going to pluck the D, G and B strings all together. So it will be After this we're going to move to the C add 9 and use a similar pattern but on the A string. So plucking the A string once with the thumb, then using the other 3 fingers to pluck the D, G and B strings all together. And then we're going to do the same again, so A string once with the thumb, and then the D, G and B strings all together. So So those two together. And then after this we're going to move to the E minor, and we're going to pluck the E string once with the thumb, and then pluck the D, G and B strings with the other 3 fingers. And then we're going to do that again, so plucking the E string once, and then the D, G, B with the other 3 fingers. And then we're going to do that again, so E string once, and then D, G and B with the other 3 fingers. Then we're going to pluck the E string once, and then we're going to pluck the D, G and B strings all together with the other three fingers. But this time we're going to put our 3rd finger on the G string 2nd fret. So if I play just what we're doing on the E minor first. So the 3rd finger on the 2nd fret G string for that last one. So if I play what we have so far. And then we're going to do that exactly again, but with just a slight variation to the end of the E minor. So we'd do the G again, to the C add 9, to the E minor, and then here's the difference. So when again we go back to the D, G and B with the 3rd finger on, we're also going to pluck the D, G and B again, but with the 3rd finger lifted off. So if I just play through what we're doing on the E minor on the 2nd time round, it will be E, then D, G, B, then E string, then D, G, B, then E string, then D, G, B, then E string, then D, G, B with the 3rd finger on, then D, G, B with the 3rd finger off. So So if I just play through the whole of the 2nd time round on the verse. And that'll be all the verse. So if I just play through the whole section nice and slow. And now a bit more up to speed. And that is the chord progression and picking pattern that I use for the verse. And now for the pre-chorus, I will just play through the whole section nice and slow. So for this we're going to be starting on the C major, and we're going to start by plucking the A string once with the thumb, and then we're going to pluck the D string once with the 1st finger, and and then we're going to pluck the G and B strings together with the second and third fingers, and then finally we're going to pluck the A string once with the thumb. So A, D, G and B, A. And then after this we're going to slide up to the D add 4, so remember that they're exactly the same shape, just slid up 2 frets. And we're going to do exactly the same pattern, so A string once, then D string once, then G and B together, and then A string once. So those two together. And then we're going to move up to the E minor, and we're going to use exactly the same picking pattern, but doing that little sequence twice. So A, then D, then G and B together, then the A, and we're going to do that twice. So what we have so far. And now we're going to play that whole 3-chord sequence that we just did 4 times, but on the 4th time there's going to be a slight variation on the E minor. So if I just play through what we're going to do on the E minor on the very last time, so it's going to start like normal. So we're going to pluck the A string once, then the D string once, then the G and B together, and then the A string once. But then on the second time round of it, we're just going to play the A string once, then the D string once, and then the G and B together, and then stop. And that's when it will lead onto the chorus. So it'll be A, D, G and B, stop. So if I just play what we're going to do on the E minor on the last time. And that'll be the pre-chorus. So if I just play through the whole section nice and slow. And now a bit more up to speed. And that is the picking pattern and chord progression that I use for the pre-chorus. And finally we have the chorus, and I'll just play through the whole section nice and slow. So for this we're going to be starting on the G major, and we're going to start by plucking the E, D, G and B strings all together. And then we're going to use the third finger to pluck the high E string once. And then we're going to slap the strings. So E, D, G, B, high E once, and then a slap. And then we're going to move to the C add 9, and we're going to pluck the A, D, G and B strings all together once. Then we're going to use the thumb to pluck the A string once, and then we're going to slap the strings. So A, D, G, B, A string once, and then a slap. So those two together. And then we're going to move to the E-7 and use exactly the same pattern as we did for the G major, so plucking the E, D, G and B strings all together. Then one pluck of the high E string with the third finger, and then a slap of the strings. So what we have so far. And then finally we're going to move to the F sharp over D, and we're going to pluck the E, D, G and B strings all together once, and then we're going to pluck the low E string once with the thumb, and then finally finishing with a slap. So E, D, G, B all together, E string once with the thumb, and then a slap. And that's the whole progression. So if I just play through the whole section nice and slow. And now a bit more up to speed. And that is the chord progression and picking pattern that I use for the chorus. And that's all you need to know for this track, so I hope you've enjoyed the lesson. Remember to hit the subscribe button below to keep up to date with all my latest guitar tutorials and acoustic instrumentals, and I'll see you all on the next one.